It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
So it's been 131 days now, Shalicia Sutton. 139 days that little LaMello was killed, gunned down there in Biloxi on I-10 at mile marker number 41, in the midst of scores of law enforcement officers. And still to this day, we don't know who killed that baby. It's going to be a press conference, I understand, coming up around 11 o'clock today. Mississippi Gulf Coast Organizations and Family of Slain Infant to call for police accountability. It's going to be in Gulfport, Ro. Any reason for that? Joint press conference?
Yeah, well, Black Lives Matter Mississippi has been launching their protests outside the Gulfport Police Department. There is some thought that the actual officer or officers who delivered the fatal shot to LaMello Parker were from that organization, that law enforcement agency. No official word on that, of course, but that was a assertion by Black Lives Matter Mississippi.
Yeah, we'll have someone down there checking that out. It's obviously there was a fundraiser over the weekend as well. No doubt there are those now who are becoming more and more concerned about why it's taking so long for this investigation. We've been told everything from ballistics to cooperation among the agencies. There were 3 law enforcement agencies involved: Gulfport PD, an officer from the deputy sheriff, Harrison County, and then maybe 1 or 2 state troopers participated in the 30-some-odd shots that were fired into the vehicle that resulted in LaMello being killed. There's no doubt that the officers were, in fact, doing the job. Folks, that's what they do. They pursue. They capture individuals who potentially had just murdered 2 people. That was the man who was driving the car, who I use the term loosely, father. Smith is his name. The father of LaMello. So you had a crime that law enforcement was following up on, and it was Ebola. Be on the lookout for. I know Black Lives Matter had asked about why there was no Amber Alert, and the reality is that very quickly the Baton Rouge Police Department had gotten wind of this. And prior to actually Smith getting out of Louisiana, so there was a chase. So law enforcement knew where he was. When you have an Amber Alert, it implies that, okay, the whereabouts of the child involved is unknown. In this case, they knew where the child was, which is why we, along with other individuals, got what's called Ebola, basically be on the lookout for. And, of course, we in the media would get it even far less or slower than law enforcement, I'm sure. But by that time, there was a chase down, Highway 12, Interstate 12, coming from Baton Rouge heading to Mississippi. I guess we probably got it by the time they were crossing the Mississippi line, is what we're thinking.
Or at least about to, yeah.
And then, of course, very shortly thereafter, going through Hancock County, the car went over the spike strips, and at least one tire was flattened. So the high-speed chase stopped being a high-speed chase. Of course, that, as we're understanding it, was dangerous for little LaMello. You understand, this is an infant. And there are some protocols that law enforcement have to follow. And yes, you are to be held to a higher standard. Yes, there's no good reason to expect for you to do exactly what you do. But do it within the standards and the professionalism that we expect. And so, obviously, all of the exits, including this broadcast, is approximately a quarter of a mile from I-10. So those exits in the eastbound lanes were blocked, which means that Smith was passing law enforcement as he slowly made his way down I-10. So there's no doubt that, the man was surrounded. I mean, it's not like he's able to get away, is the point. The question now is at what point do you put this to an end? At what point do you arrest Smith? And how can you do that with consideration for his hostage, LaMello? And it's unfortunate, but it seems as though that consideration was not given at the time they got to mile marker number 41. And our quest now is to figure out, well, okay, so what went wrong, or who went wrong, and what do we need to do to correct it? Simple as that. And I don't doubt that the investigating agency, which in this case is the Biloxi PD, because Biloxi officers did not fire a shot, as we understand it, which means that they would be the investigating officer as opposed to the MBI, basically the state troopers. There's a lot going on behind the scenes here, I can tell you. There's a whole lot. And I can tell you right off the bat that law enforcement sees this as a black eye. And they also see something else. They see the fact that it has to be thorough because when or if charges are brought, then it will be potentially against another officer. So they want to get it right. I got you. And there's nothing wrong with that. I got you. I do understand that. But keep in mind, those individuals who are investigating this incident are also part of the law enforcement team. And so we, the public, are not stupid. I mean, we know that it's still, in many aspects, a certain form of investigating yourself. I mean, your fellow brothers are your fellow brothers. That's just all there is to it. And I get that. I get that. I really do get that. But the commitment has to be to getting it right. Getting it right. Not any kind of sense of brotherhood. If this were your child, or if you were a hostage in a car involving something like this, then you certainly would want to do that. You'd want to get it right, is what I'm saying. Which brings me to another case there in Hancock County. Just happened last year, actually. Being investigated by the I guess it's by the deputies there in Hancock County. I'm talking about the shooting of the officer there, Butte.
Yes.
And I don't doubt the MBI is also involved in this. Well, guess what? This information is there. The assailant is there. And grand jury now has indicted that man. And we have had information very shortly after one Michael Butte was a lieutenant, was killed. Was there an investigation? Yes. It was an investigation of the shooting of an officer, not unlike Officer McKittrick. And of course, we received a plethora of information from law enforcement in both cases.
Butte's killing February 1st.
Yeah. So my point is that we, the audience, for my law enforcement officers who are listening, we're not stupid out here now. This is an officer-involved shooting of a baby, right? And we see officers who've been slain by individuals, alleged individuals who have killed them, and we know how evidence comes out. You're not going to have it both ways. You're not going to say, okay, I've got the autopsy here of McKittrick and know how many times he was shot, but yet not have the official record of how many times the baby was shot. mean, it doesn't make sense. How would the autopsy jeopardize your case? You got me? And if it didn't jeopardize the case of Officer McKittrick, for instance, who very shortly thereafter, we found out in the media, okay, how many times he was shot. He was wearing body armor, and at least 3 of the shots, maybe 4 of the shots made its way around the body armor, and the officer was killed. Well, we're privy to that evidence, but we're not privy to this. And you do understand hanging in the balance in both cases of the slaying of the officer is a person who's going to be on trial. Right? A civilian. In the case of LaMello, there's no doubt about the fact that there was no intent, or was there? I don't know. I would think not. I would doubt that any officer there woke up that morning deciding to shoot an infant. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
However, I think at some point someone had to decide that the infant's life was not as important.
Shots were fired.
That doesn't mean that there was some intent, but it does mean that there was some depravity. But we can't get evidence. You can't give me evidence on the shooting of an officer, and we can't get evidence on the shooting of a baby? What, you think we stupid? You want to talk about credibility of those individuals who swear an oath? Well, this is it. This is how you lose credibility. You really do, and you shouldn't. Well, Rip, no matter what you say, you're not going to speed up the investigation and blah, blah. Okay, right. You can still investigate, but if we're privy to an autopsy of a slain officer, my God, can we be privy to an autopsy of the child? We hear it from his uncle that he was shot in the back. He said that was on the death certificate. I've never seen a death certificate like that. I don't doubt him. Typically, as
unless, of course, like there was like preliminary autopsy report with the death certificate.
Well, the coroner said that LaMello was shot once. Mm-hmm. Father said on the death certificate it went through his back, and the bullet went through his back and then through his chest. Obviously,
that's according to the uncle.
Yeah, his uncle Jeremy. I mean, the mortician had to have seen him.
And yeah, I mean,
what's really curious was my asking whether they saw LaMello, and there was not a confirmation on that. Actually, that was we were told by Mr. Jeremy that they didn't get a chance to even see the body for quite some time, but he never once confirmed that he did. And maybe I'll ask him again. I don't know if he's going to be at this press conference, Ro. Do you know?
I do not have confirmation just yet on that.
It's at 11 o'clock. All right, we'll keep you posted. Still no word from the district attorney, and no word from the Biloxi PD as to whether or not the investigation is over or has been turned over now to the district attorney.
The Parker family is expected to be at this press conference.
Yeah, that's good. We will have someone there. I don't know, when I come here and I do this, I don't know if you guys realize that community is everything. I grew up here. Many of the people that I talk to who are in some cases now in law enforcement or even judges are folks that grew up with me. I know these people in some cases. Some people's cases I don't know them. I know of them. What makes things happen in communities are those individuals, like who are listening to this show, who decide to participate. That doesn't mean you've got to go hands up, don't shoot. It doesn't mean that you've got to march. What it does mean, however, is that you have got to keep those individuals you see who are, quote-unquote, leaders honest. You got to do that. So each one of you have got to talk to your elected officials. And don't just think someone else is going to do it. I want you to look around and look at your child and ask yourself, what if that had happened to your child? What if some guy, carjacker, jumped in the car, grabbed the car, your baby's on the back seat, and your child ended up dead? Who answers to that? So what you've got to do is don't go through this powerlessness. Oh, Rip Daniels has jumped up and down. No, you've got to contact your elected officials. You got to contact your mayor. You got to contact your city councilman. You got to contact your board member and the board of supervisors. You can even contact the judge. You can contact the DA. You can call the DA. So what is so we've now at 131 days. District Attorney Parker, could you tell me where we stand here? The man's elected. I mean, he's going to be on the ballot in November. I don't think he has an opponent. Okay. So he'll be in by acclamation, I assume. All right. But still, they're elected officials. Everyone who goes on the grand jury is a voter. You can receive that paper that says, okay, you've been chosen as one of the jurors to be on a grand jury. Don't act like somehow or another, oh, God, it's no, I can't do this. You could be one of those very ones on the grand jury that's waiting for the case of one LaMello Parker to see the evidence and see whether or not there's any reason to think that there was a crime committed. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, that the grand jury has incredible power? Do you know that they can actually petition and change the jail? Really? Grand jurors could actually have some oversight. That's why it's a grand jury. Even without the beckoning of the DA. So if you're on a grand jury, just take my word for it. Just pull up the information regarding the powers of a grand jury. Some of you will call in and talk about the conditions at the jail and they're not getting this and the medical and staff and so forth. And I would ask you, have you been invited to be on a grand jury? Now, there's a jury, then there's a grand jury. There's a district court, which is different from a grand jury. But jurors have some pretty significant powers. So if you're asked to be on a grand jury, I would highly encourage you to do so. And if you've never been on a jury or a grand jury, it might be because you're not a registered voter. Shame on you. I said about community, and that is the most community thing you can do. That is community participation. That is the least you could do. It's the least you could do. Don't call Rip Daniels talking about wanting to free people in jail or how unfair it is, or Black Lives Matter, and you're not even a registered voter. The hell? Really? The least you could do is be a registered voter so that maybe if in fact you think Black Lives Matter, you can be in judgment of black lives that hang in the balance. So that you won't have a quote-unquote all-white jury. If you are not a registered voter and you happen to be black, guess what? You are promoting an all-white jury. Or an all-male jury, if you're a woman. It takes a lot out of you, really. It takes a lot out of you to keep from going off and being completely impatient with individuals who just refuse to make any effort, but will flap their gums just because they like to hear themselves. All right, 228-896-9455. I don't know how we deal with this, but I do know we've got to deal with it. And we're going to talk about it later on. But you've just got to hear Governor Abbott as he signed a bill, ladies and gentlemen, that stripped women, literally stripped women, of the protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. Now, it is unfortunate that you guys talk about it like it's the abortion bill. It is not an abortion bill. I want you to understand that. It's not an abortion bill, and unfortunately, you have the NOW group, National Organization for Women, started in on it, and some Democrats say the same thing. But they obviously did not read Roe v. Wade and how the Supreme Court had no other choice but to come to the conclusion they did. And that was, women had a right to their own privacy. That's basically what they said. How do you stop a woman from controlling her own body? How do you search her? And how could that be reasonable? Of course, after Roe v. Wade, then, of course, Congress had to come in and pass some laws governing at what point can you have an abortion, the trimesters and the like. But still, how do you just say, okay, a woman is, most women don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. So how do you search them? So in this case, the bill that was passed says very simply, all right, so anyone can actually file suit against you if you help them get an abortion. I don't care if you're driving them there. I don't care. Without any consideration for rape or incest, by the way. After 6 weeks, guess what? You must have what you don't want to have. Or we're going to search you. That's what's left out of this. How do you prove your civil case against a woman who you accuse of having an abortion if you're not privy to her medical records? How do you do that? Now, if you are a pro-lifer, I want you to call me. Don't be scared. I want to have this conversation with you because I want to ask you, at what point do you give up your privacy? I know we both want to save children. There's no doubt about that. We both want to do it. I love babies. I really, really do. But how do you take away one person's right for the sake of another person? You're going to have to answer that because that's what it's going to boil down to. They just passed a law that says that anyone, literally anyone, can now be privy to the medical records of a woman who's had a procedure. Even if she didn't have the procedure, the accusation is enough. During discovery interrogatories, okay, so Ed, the Lyft guy, gave this woman a ride to the abortion clinic, dropped her off right there. Well, he should have known that she was going to have an abortion. He dropped her off there, so we're going to sue him for taking her, and he could lose over $10,000 because it says $10,000 or more. It's a bounty, basically. It's a bounty. If you do this and you file suit, you can win $10,000 or more if you win the case. But to win the case, you've got to prove that, the Lyft guy did take her to get an abortion because here it is. We've got the medical records of Jane right here. See? See, right there. Even got some photographs. There's her vagina and see the head. See, you see all that? Yes. Do you understand that's what this is about? Conservatives don't want you to understand that's what it's about. On the one hand, they want to protect you from a mask. On the other hand, they want the medical records of any woman or the private physical condition of any woman, literally any woman, to be up to a judge or the government or anyone else. This is how this works. I really hope that someone contacts. I mean, we've reached out to Right to Life because they don't want to get on the phone. They don't want to debate with me. They really don't. I'm going to tell you why they don't, because, ladies and gentlemen, it is all indoctrination. Their concept is all about getting a response. Oh, the pity, the horror. It is not about the reality of what they're saying. It's not about that at all. In other words, you can listen to these individuals and those who want to believe them will go, okay, it's a good moment. It's not got you moment. Yeah. But when you apply it, you put it on paper and say, how do we apply this? How do we come up with a law? How do we do this? Can we do this? How do we do this and with consideration for everybody involved? All right? Such was the case when Governor Abbott, what a piece of work he is. He was asked about, because there's no consideration for incest or rape. I want you to listen to how this conservative governor responded, because you would expect it, but I want you to listen to how he responded regarding rape and what they are not going to do in Texas. Here we go.
Governor, regarding the heartbeat bill, why force a rape or incest victim to carry a pregnancy to term?
It doesn't require that at all, because obviously it provides at least 6 weeks for a person to be able to get an abortion. And so for one, it doesn't provide that. That said, however, let's make something very clear. Rape is a crime, and Texas will work tirelessly to make sure that we eliminate all rapists from the streets of Texas by aggressively going out and arresting them and prosecuting them and getting them off the streets. So goal number 1 in the state of Texas is to eliminate rape so that no woman, no person will be a victim of rape.
All right, stop it right there. So the rapists walk around with a big R on their head? You realize
no.
If they are rapists, they've already raped.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in other
If you're a
words,
murderer, you will have murdered.
that's exactly right.
Right.
So you eliminate them how? After they've raped.
Oh, well, I mean, you have to find, even though they've already raped, you've got to find them and round them up
Yeah.
and
And the woman who's been raped now is
neutralize them, take them off the board.
right. And then so you do realize that 70 to 80% of the women who are raped by their own kin,
Right.
someone they know,
Right.
not their own kin, but someone they know.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna round them up before they're raped?
Well, you can't. You can't do that because then the person's not a rapist. You see how that works?
Oh yeah. Oh, I
You
guess
got that?
that's so profound.
Yeah.
So they're not a rapist
So,
until
well-
they actually rape women.
Well, hold on.
Or whoever.
Well, let's double back here.
Yeah.
So, okay. So if you're going to be able to find and capture and apparently, according to the governor, execute these rapists,
Wow.
yeah, they will have had to have raped.
There was that. Yeah. Right.
So what I'm discerning from Governor Abbott's statement is that the state of Texas has spearheaded bleeding edge technology
Huh.
to precognitively determine, i.e., Minority Report,
Yeah.
who's gonna rape
So they got Tom Cruise on it?
before they rape. I certainly hope so, and the whole Scientology squad, because they're gonna need them. So they're
That's
gonna.
the women. That's the women in the pool with the little tiny heads.
You were right, exactly. The precogs. So the precogs are floating around
And so they
And
know when
figuring out
when women are gonna get raped, and so they go
before
and get
they're
the rapists.
raped. Who's gonna be raped?
Yeah.
Then they send in the minority reporters, and they go get them and repel into their homes right before the
It is
moment of rape.
tiring. It is tiring. It is so tiring dealing with conservative thought. You guys shake your head at damn near everything. Oh yeah, sure, yeah. You want to stop the rapists? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sounds good, right? Now apply that. So now a woman has to know after being raped that she's pregnant within 6 weeks. Don't get me wrong, ladies, if you are, I would certainly suggest the morning after pill. By the way, conservatives are against that too. I would certainly suggest that. But if in fact you're not, there's a woman right now who has COVID, who does not want to have a child for someone who's not worthy, for a man who's not worthy. You understand what I'm saying? She does. Well, she should have thought about that before. Well, it's still her body. She can think about it whenever she wants. However, she's got to be quarantined for 14 days, 10 to 14 days, and that's over the 6 weeks. so she can't have an abortion for this individual. We don't know the reasons why. Inside the bill, you have to sign a release that says that, okay, yeah, well, it was an assault. Every woman who is impregnated by an individual can say that, and should say that, actually, if they don't want to. No, really. I mean, could you imagine having something and you don't want it? Could you imagine that walking around? And look, this is the closest I can get to it. Men, if you have a gallbladder and it's messed up, or an appendix, your appendix is all bloated and it could kill you. This is the closest we're going to get to pregnancy. And someone said you can't take it out. I know, or better yet, someone says, okay, if you do take it out, we want to know you did. We want the taxi cab driver who took you to get it out, because we didn't say you can take that out. Although it pains you, although it could really kill you. We want you to be a whole human being, and so therefore we, the government, needs to evaluate whether or not you did something wrong, because we self-righteous. That's as close as we can get to it. The biggest thing, though, is the unreasonable search. Oh, so it's a gallbladder, huh? Yeah, wait, yes, likely story. Let us just go there and check, Rip. Now, let's do some exploratory. Let's just find out. You sure it's not your adenoids or your tonsils? You just want to go in here and get some Medicaid, don't you? Yeah, you just want to take off work, yeah, don't you? This is as close as I can get to we who are men who can experience the idea of having someone privy to your medical records. Or let's just say maybe you have, let's just say you're having testicular cancer. Oh, yeah, you got testicular cancer, huh? Yeah, sure you do, Bob, sure you do. Let's just check that to make sure, because we want you to have some babies. And if you go in there and you have one of them take out one of your testes, you're going to let them take out one of your testicles. We're going to go in and we're going to pull up your medical records to make sure it was actually cancerous. Because after all, you were put on this earth to have children prosper. You're supposed to multiply. How dare you take out one of your little nuts? Can I say that?
I think so. I'm checking the list.
Okay. This is as close as we're going to come to it. The question is how do you find out? How do you know without pulling up the medical records? How do you prove your case? And how dare you put anybody through that unreasonable search and seizure? I certainly don't want it for any women in my family. And if you are Mr. Conservative guy, you need to ask yourself whether you want the government checking any women in your family, because that's what it boils down to. We'll be back.
Get the info.
Stay informed. It's a new day with Rip Daniels, the #1 talk show in South Mississippi on JZ 94.5.
get pennies for thoughts either. However, some of us enjoy the luxury of opinion without the discomfort of thought. You got to think about it. A lot to talk about today. Hopefully we'll get to the actor who was killed. Was it Michael?
Michael K. Williams.
Yeah. Tragic situation there. But a whole lot going on between Texas and, of course, the White House. Voting rights and, of course, the abortion bill. But and then, of course, Joe Manchin standing in the way. And there are those criticizing the Democratic Party when really what it is just one Democrat or a Democrat. We've reached a point whereby statesmanship is just really out of the question. But I want to go to hang on. I want to go to Larry here. Who's been patient. Larry, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Downs. How are you today?
Doing excellent.
I was listening to you in this law that the Supreme Court upheld in Texas, and to be honest with you,
they didn't uphold it. Now you realize that the law was not upheld. What they did was decide not to hear it. It was 5-4. Yeah.
Well, it really doesn't have any teeth. For one, what you said it would violate the Fourth Amendment of illegal search and seizure, because you would have to get the medical records to know whether or not this person had this procedure done. Secondly, I noticed it wasn't considered a crime to abort the baby, even though that they considering the baby a being when it has a heartbeat. So you have to wonder, why didn't they consider it murder and committed a crime instead of a civil action? That's because it has no teeth.
Interesting. Because
a baby does not have the rights of a citizen. And you can only murder a citizen or someone that has the equivalent rights of a citizen.
Yeah, that's what it is. They call it a heartbeat, but a fetus does not have a heartbeat. But that's what they're saying. And so they tried to appeal. Yeah, they're trying to appeal and manipulate the public, and unfortunately, there are those who want to be manipulated that way. And again, you and I both would agree. No one wants to have someone end a pregnancy. Would you? I mean, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Unless
I don't like abortion, but I don't like taking person's choice even more.
Yeah, good for you.
See, with a civil suit is used to make you whole if you were damaged by someone, some persons, or an entity.
Yeah.
How can you have a civil suit if you weren't damaged? I don't understand when they're saying you can sue the person. That person hasn't damaged you at all, so how can you be made whole?
Well, you can have some class action lawsuits, one can argue, where the damage was not done to you specifically, but it was done, or it was done in such a way that it could affect you. But you make a legitimate point. I mean, in other words, what was the harm to you? You'd have to show some damages.
Right.
So
a good lawyer will get that crap thrown out.
Well, the question would be this for me, and I think maybe the Supreme Court, and I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to those who were conservative, what they saw in this was a boondoggle. What they saw in this is what you saw in this. Well, come on. How could what we've got to do is wait until someone does this and then consider the case. They passed a law. Can they pass a law that says you can sue? Yes, they can. Now, what they're waiting for is someone to actually sue. And then they'll have a case to deal with. This old adage that says, bad cases make bad case law. And so I guess that's what they're doing. But however, it is now, because it is law in Texas, it is adversely affecting Texas. That's another reason why I won't be spending any money there, I can tell you that. Appreciate you calling, Larry. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Well, I was just wondering about this. How do you find out to sue? That is so crazy to me. Ain't nobody out here saying, hey, I just had an abortion.
Yeah.
Well, I just gave an abortion. This is weird.
Well, the same thing with Roe v. Wade. The point is how can you hold even a woman responsible for having an abortion, right? Unless you are privy to her medical records. How do you know what happens in the procedure with her and her doctor? That's why the Supreme Court ruled the way it did. And it was, go ahead.
You can't get around HIPAA, because in order to get around HIPAA, you would have to say that this isn't a medical procedure, and I doubt that can happen.
Well, the only person you can hold responsible will be the mother or the doctor. And of course, now there is a law. There is a law that says that it has to be, you can't have a child after your third trimester. And so, in other words, doctors determined that the child would then be viable, meaning that a child can be born outside of the womb. But I don't like to even get in that conversation. I'm going to tell you why.
Right.
Because it's still the woman's life hangs in the balance. There have been women who have died on the gurney after their third trimester. And so, so it's still a risk. It's between her and her physician. So,
I myself think the argument should be at the Social Security number part, because I think we get Social Security numbers when you consider the citizen. So if they don't have a Social Security number, who are you harming? Are you calling the baby an animal, or what is it?
Well, it's a human. Well, baby's a baby, and I appreciate your calling. But you're right. The 14th Amendment does say the citizen is born. It does not say anything about unborn. But I don't want to have that discussion. I really don't, because that's a discussion that conservatives feel will make their case. Oh, you want to kill babies? Nobody want to kill babies. But you cannot take away the right of another human being. Another human being. You cannot take that right away. That right of a woman. She has a right. Now, just because you feel the way you do and just because we wish the way we wish does not in and by itself allow you to be privy to unreasonable searches and seizures. And certainly not the government. If so, then we're going to find ourselves looking like China, limiting the number of children or making women have children. What's the difference? We'll be back.
It's a new day with Rip Daniels, the number one talk show in South Mississippi on Jay-Z 94.5.
You think, ladies, go to our Facebook page and weigh in. You think that Governor Abbott could stop rape before it happens?
Of course, he's a Texan.
The way that he looks at me when he holds my hand, he wants everyone to know I'm his woman and he is my man. We can talk about anything. He's got nothing to hide.
They can't talk about testicular cancer, though. Can't talk about that.
He's not a slave to his pride. He's giving me love. So steady.
All right, folks, good morning to you. Rip Daniels here. Thank you for joining us. Show it's called It's a New Day. There's only one rule. There is no such thing as a right or wrong opinion. Happy last day of Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year. How about that? And there are some who have a problem with that. I don't know why. Look, folks, I could appreciate all religions, to be quite frank. Doesn't mean that I have to be that religion, but I certainly respect them all.
Head of the year.
228-896-9455. That's the number to call. A lot to cover, a short period of time here, and I know that some of you are wanting to weigh in on the Parker situation. We're kind of waiting until 11 o'clock. There's a press conference there in Gulfport, and so we're going to have some folks there to see what that's all about. But we are talking about the governor, and if you've not heard the governor, you need to hear him. We go ahead and cue him up, bro, because you've got to hear this governor defend a bill that does not provide exceptions when it comes to having an abortion for incest or rape. The governor feels, as a true Texan would, that he's just going to stop. We're not going to do rape in this state anymore.
Governor, regarding the heartbeat bill, why force a rape or incest victim to carry a pregnancy to term?
It doesn't require that at all, because obviously it provides...
Stop it right there. It does. After 6 weeks, it does. Now, he's going to say this, but you keep in mind, this is the conservative conservative kind of talk, you'll find they will spend little time. They know that they're giving a half truth, but they'll get that in and then switch. It does. I've got the bill right here. After 6 weeks, it's over. Continue.
For a person to be able to get an abortion. And so for one, it doesn't provide that. That said, however, let's make something very clear.
See that little switch?
Rape is a crime. And Texas will work tirelessly to make sure that we eliminate all rapists from the streets of Texas by aggressively going out and arresting them and prosecuting them and getting them off the streets.
And you eliminate the rapists. I never get rid of the racists in Texas, but the rapist. However, the woman who's been raped after 6 weeks is forced to carry the rapist offspring to term. And by the way you're going to know that is that you're going to check her medical records. She's pregnant? All right, she's pregnant. Okay, let's watch her. I'll get those medical records in here, and let's just check and make sure. Get the government's guy to go in there with the long fingernails and so forth to check to make sure the womb is still intact. Continue.
Goal number one in the state of Texas is to eliminate rape so that no woman, no person will be a victim of rape. But in addition to that, we do want to make sure that we provide support for those who are victims of rape. And we have organizations that we as a state support, that others support.
This is all the switch. We have organizations, we have all this. And we're going to make it so it will never happen again, this thing called rape, and therefore you should feel safe if you're a woman in Texas. See the hands of the women who feel safe from rape in Texas. You can walk down the streets. Don't mess with Texas women.
Have no fear, because after you are raped, we will find your rapist.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to put him in jail, even though he'll be a daddy after 6 weeks. Can I go to Bobby? Bobby, good morning. How are you, man?
Good morning, Rip. Man, some of these people are the most dumbest you can ever see, boy. By the time a man raped the person, the woman's already pregnant or whatever the case. Do they not think about that?
Well, they do think about it, but they're only thinking about themselves. You got me? In other words,
but it's going to backfire on them, real. Is that what they trying to do is going to backfire on them, because half of the Caucasian kids is one that's having more of the abortions anyway. So it'll be in the forefront now. People be talking about it if there's anything. But Rip, I got a question I wanted to ask y'all. With this PTSD, do we think that Biden, is it going to be anything in the bill, in the infrastructure bill, for that's going to be able to help the nurses and healthcare workers out? Because there's going to be a lot of that going on here within the next few months.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, there's already some bills in the CARES Act, actually. First responders, and of course nurses are first responders. Yeah, there's a significant amount of support for them, for those who would apply.
So do you think that it need to be a bill that pretty much everybody is going to have to, the trauma that they're going to be facing, is it pretty much should be open for everybody to see a psychiatrist or, to get therapy?
Let me tell you, brother, we don't have a clue. With what happened over the weekend, Labor Day weekend, there is a huge bomb explosion. You realize well over 250,000 children right now are infected with COVID-19. And something like 300 a day are going into the hospital. And you still got individuals who are complaining about a mask in school. We just lost a nurse here locally. It's just heart-wrenching. Who is this? It's Isabella's piece there in the local paper, Sun Herald. You should read about it. It's nurse Becky Clemens. Here she is helping other people and at a Singing River, and she got COVID, and she is no more. It's been well over 18,000 medical workers who have died since this pandemic has begun, and many of them got the disease helping others to get over the disease. Go figure. So yeah, there is some information. Actually, Joe Biden is going to be giving an announcement here a little bit later on today. He's going to unveil some other strategy
about it.
Yeah, if that strategy does not include free test, home test, and not just emergency use test, but FDA approved test, then it's going to fall short in my book. Hang on.
And one more thing, then okay.
Go ahead. Let's see if we can get it in quickly.
Okay, and one more thing, I'm gone. Is anybody catching colds and the flu now, or is everything just COVID?
Very little of both of those. I've seen some bronchitis here and there. Appreciate you calling. We'll be back.
WJZD FM Long Beach, Waveland, Goshen, Gulfport, the all-new JZ 94.5.
My way of saying good morning to my steppers out there. It's Tucker. All right, folks, good morning to you. Rip Daniels here. Thank you for joining us. The show is called It's a New Day. One rule, there's no such thing as a right or wrong opinion. Good morning to my friends listening in Tallahassee. You know, Texas is just as bad as Florida. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, Florida is a mess. Do you know in Florida, ladies and gentlemen, that Governor DeSantis doesn't even allow the counting of those individuals who have had or who will come down with COVID? Seriously. The state won't say, nor will most local public health officials say, how many folks have COVID.
Wait, what now?
Yeah, you just heard me right. Every 4 minutes last week, a Floridian was killed as a result of COVID. Now, we do know that because they have morbidity reports.
But we don't have...
But information on how many people are dying every day in local communities is hard to find.
Like what we have access to here in Mississippi.
That's exactly right. The state won't say, nor will most local public officials say. At least one county acknowledged it doesn't follow the federal websites showing incomplete or inconsistent data for Florida counties. In other words, it admitted that it doesn't participate. Florida has not reported deaths at the county level for 3 months.
Incredible.
Not incredible. When you look at the numbers of people, of children who are coming down with COVID there in Florida.
They're hiding their dead.
And the reality here is, folks, is that now it's affecting young people, children, pediatric care. Now I want you to listen to this collage of these nitwits here jumping up and down about a mask. Now, thank goodness, 2 out of 3 parents think there should be mask mandates in school. It's just that the loudest are those individuals who are anti-mask. And you ask them for what reason? I don't know. They're just taking away one of my freedoms. So well, then maybe you need to look at what's happening in Texas when it comes down to voting and when it comes down to a woman's privacy. So listen. These guys are just complaining. The students having their rally.
This is at a board meeting, this first one here, anti-mask hearing.
Stick together. Remember, we have authority in Christ Jesus. These are demonic entities in all the school boards of all the United States of America. And all of us Christians will be sticking together to take them all out. All the police officers that kick us out for our First Amendment right will also be going down with them.
Yeah, did you have the students? I want the students. Did you have the students there? Well, see if you can find it. I know that you've got it there somewhere. These guys, no more masks. But we have parents who don't want to be parents who are insisting that, okay, you brush your teeth, wash your face, and wear your mask. By the way, the Confederate, what is it, a 20-ton? I think it's about 20 tons, whatever it is. It's 40 foot, a 131-year-old Robert E. Lee statue is down now in Virginia. Took that sucker down.
Good.
Now, if they can do it in Virginia, Harrison County Board of Supervisors, you can do it right over there on 24th or 23rd. I don't want Mississippi to be the last one to take down a damn Confederate statue. Come on. Especially a county that is now gaining in population. The guys need to grow up here and do what needs to be done. Can I go to, where is it, Herbie? Herbie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. I don't know, Democrats, these Republican governors and stuff do that, throw these little bones out and they run around chasing, and then we can't get nothing done with police abuse and everything else because we're running back chasing something that should have been done, even like the voting thing. Now, that governor down there, he don't want all of those children that he's talking about. He ain't loving Mexicans and black people like that. That old population wouldn't be never Mexicans and black people down there if they take and apply that abortion thing. And those, so that's just them throwing that out there, and Democrats run around, chase that, act like they really protected black people and other people. It's also down there in Florida like that. That governor, he's doing that, and Democrats run around. And they're more controlled than Biden. These governors are. And to be honest,
your phone. You need to get your phone straight, brother, because I'm hearing you, but it sounds very tinny. It sounds better when you're on the receiver. So we don't want to do it speakerphone again, or Bluetooth.
Not on speakerphone. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it must be on a Bluetooth or something, Herbie. So if next time when you call him, you could just stick to this, and we can hear you a lot better. So you were saying the Democrats were chasing.
Yeah, that's what they were chasing, votes and abortion and stuff like that, and even out the police brutality. At that particular time when Biden went in, George Floyd and all of these things about black people issues was up. Now we worried about abortion. Now we're worried about voting rights again. This is what I'm saying. To solve that problem out there in Texas, only thing you have to do, one of them women be forced to carry that baby over 6 weeks, and she died because of him forcing. Sue him, sue the governor, and sue the state, and that'll solve that problem. Because he has no right to be doing that. He's not God. I think that's where our problem is.
Well, you're saying he, but it actually was actually, brother. What you have is you have the legislators. You have every Republican legislator voted for this bill, and that's the senators and the House of Representatives and governors signed it into law. But there's no doubt about. But no one issue controls this. It's not like, you got to handle abortion and then you got to have voting rights. No, you handle all of it. All of it is a matter of governing. All of it is a matter of governing. So it's not like you handle one thing or the other. I don't know why you get that impression.
Well, from the understanding like this right here, we live in where majority rule. If they're going to want more black babies, we need to make them, let them put food stamps, give us Section 8, and then we overpopulate white people, and then we'll be the majority, and we'll.
Well, that is happening right now.
They're not trying to save us. They're not trying to save us.
Right. You realize that is happening right now. Right now, children under 18 years old, the majority of those are not Caucasian.
Right. Well, what it is that's why they put so many black kids, male children, in jail. Black female have more male children than any other woman on earth. We will overpopulate this thing. So they had to control it through putting her on birth control, her being on birth control, and locking up the other black guys. Each one of those guys in there would have had 4 or 5 children if they was out here being free. They need to get the freedom that they're finna get these Afghanistan people.
Well, wouldn't you say that they need to? Wouldn't you say that they would also need to take care of the children now? We got to put that in there.
Well, we already got Section 8 and
no, brother. I just hung up on you. Appreciate your calling. Just ran out of time, Herbie. And I got my cookie. So we already got Section 8 and so forth to take care of. You're not going to expect for African-American men to take care of the children. Brother, there's sometimes, of course, now don't get me wrong. I don't doubt that a lot of folks think like you. Can I go to, men? Well, I use that term loosely, think like you. Miss Lee, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, you guys. First of all, unless all rapists have rapist tattooed on their forehead, how you gonna know who to get? He can't get them all. And as a woman, this is the way I feel. He can't tell me to do with my body unless I can tell him to do with his penis.
Yeah.
So if I can control his penis, he can't control my body.
Well, I can tell you most women can control a man's penis. Wouldn't you agree with that, Ro?
I would think if anyone
Well, there's
could.
no doubt that if a woman wants to control a man's penis,
Yeah, I don't think a man's going to argue much.
well, most men, I guess.
Most men, unless
yeah,
it's
but
not
there
your
might
thing.
be
You
some
might
who
not
are a
like
little uncertain. They might have some penis apathy or something like that. I don't know.
Right.
It may not work on some
folks
men.
don't want anyone else to handle their penis.
Well, that's
except for
exactly
themselves.
right. Yeah.
So,
So I agree with
Rip,
you.
I'm blushing. I'm blushing over here.
I'm sorry.
Does anybody see me kneeling down, hiding my face right now? But no, you can't control what we do with our body. I don't control what goes on in his house. I don't control how many kids him and his wife have. I don't control him getting a vasectomy. I don't control that. So why it's got to be controlling women? And I think whatever you do in your house and in your God, whatever peace you make, decision you make, it's your decision. It's not mine. It's just not my right or wrong. It's not my decision. I don't have to live with a decision that Susie or Becky made. That's their decision. I don't have to agree with it. If they decide that's what's best for them, that's their decision.
You know, I think that all of this is going to adversely affect them, meaning Republicans, come 2022. I really do. Do you? I mean, but don't get me wrong. Women are jumping up and down there in Texas, but you're not hearing it nationally. Do you think it's going to affect the possibility of Republicans, be it in Texas or elsewhere, being adversely affected, not being voted in as a result of their position on this and the voting rights and so forth?
I think for sure. I think overall, most women work hard for their coin. They take care of the family. And they don't want anybody telling them. We don't want anybody telling us what to do. We're not a kept woman. Most of us not rich and can stay at home and do nothing and be dictated by a man. Most of us can't do that. We working hard out here. We raising family. We trying to do the right thing. In some cases, we raising men, grown men. So, no, we don't want you to tell us. The average woman do not want to be told what's the best decision for our family.
You know, you a nurse, Ms. Lee. On average, because I've talked to a lot of women about it, on average, would you say that women don't even have a clue that they're pregnant until after 6 weeks?
That's true. Oh, I have heard many cases. And some women also had, I don't mean to get in great detail, but had a light cycle.
Yeah.
You know, not knowing, okay,
they're still
well,
menstruating.
I can't be pregnant.
Yeah, you did.
Right.
There's no exact science to this pregnancy thing. When you actually get pregnant is speculation. You agree with that?
I agree. And I know some women say they actually went to ER with stomach cramps and was pregnant. You're ready to give labor, do labor. So,
but I really want to.
It's not exact science.
So, can you explain to a man? I'm gonna get a little personal with you. Can you tell me the exact day that you think you got pregnant?
No, I'm thinking back. No, and that's been almost 34 years ago. So
I understand.
No, but
I'm asking it for a reason.
There's no exact science.
Yeah, I'm asking.
No exact science.
Right,
to that.
but you ask the average man, and the average man really thinks that. I'm going to tell you that they really think that this is something exact that a doctor or a woman knows. She knows that she. But for the most part, you guys really don't know that you're pregnant until you miss your cycle. Is that accurate?
Exactly. And some days you can miss a cycle and still not be pregnant. So no. When you start going through menopause, some people go through menopause early. So they miss a cycle. The first thing they think, I might be pregnant, and that's not the case. And women don't know exactly. I can tell you I'm going to win the lottery, too. And I can tell you exactly when. Yeah. But that's just something I'm guessing at,
So let me ask you this. So the governor and the Texas legislature, in their infinite wisdom, decided that a woman could not have an abortion after 6 weeks without the possibility of being sued. Now, notice it's not illegal per se. It just simply says it's a civil action. Someone can sue somebody who helps a woman have an abortion. Here's my question. When does the clock start? In other words, if it's 6 weeks, is it after you miss your cycle, or is it, do you count before your cycle?
You know what? I don't know exactly. I think they start counting the day you miss your cycle, but I'm not sure. I don't work in the OB, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. So
if there's an OBGYN out there listening, give us a call. I'd like to know. So when, because all of it's going to be speculative. You don't know when you got pregnant. If it was in between cycles, and more than likely it would be, you would get pregnant typically not while you were menstruating. I guess it could be possible, but doubtful, because you're ovulating, right? And so it would have to be you'd get pregnant before your cycle, because that impairs your cycle. So the exact day of conception, you just really don't know. So I'm just wondering, how did they come up with 6 weeks, and when did it start?
I don't think they figured it out. I think they just want what they want. They want to follow their leader, and they just throw something out there, not even put any thought into the particulars of the case. I think they're just going to throw that out there and try to figure it out later. But that's not the way it works when it comes to stuff like that.
All right, Miss Lee. Appreciate it. Go to our Facebook page. How do you think we should deal with Texas? Because it's all of Texas. Because I'm about to tell you about the voting rights that have now been stopped under the guise of voting integrity. What voting integrity among conservatives means is that we are conservatives, we lost the last race, and so we don't believe in the system anymore because, after all, we should have won. Now, you hadn't seen a bunch of whiners like this. And now, you remember when Hillary Clinton lost and did double impeach Donald John within, they just, every time you turned around, it was always, oh, they're just sorry that they lost. They're just sorry they lost. Trust me on this. We are still between Arizona and, Florida? They're still counting votes. You know, we're gone way beyond sore losers here. We want to take it. We have an ex-president who says it was stolen. He was the one who actually won, the big lie, and a whole lot of big liars, which now got Governor Abbott coming now to sign the legislation which basically took away some other rights to vote. That's what it did. It banned 24-hour voting, which I think is a great idea. We don't even have that here in this state. Why not have 24-hour voting?
I can't imagine why not.
There's no reason why you can't vote 24 hours. I mean, really, just think about it. You're able to vote 24 hours, okay. Why should the polling place close at 7? Why should we make it more difficult for Americans to participate in this system?
The gas station stays open.
I mean, really. I mean, this is, and then, of course, we will trust going online to vet us, meaning you got to have a driver's license or an ID. Well, you get one online. Well, if you can go online to get an ID that is now going to solidify that you are who you say you are, you should be able to go online and vote. Because if anybody can tell you that you are who you say you are online, they can certainly say and vet you and say that you can vote. So 24-hour voting is gone. And by the way, folks, there was a whole lot of people that really turned out for that. It's going to ban drive-through voting. Of course, drive-through voting was something relatively new because of COVID. 127,000 people cast their ballots in drive-through voting. 10 drive-through centers. It's tantamount to what we have here in this state. You realize you can have curbside voting. You realize that, right? If you're unable to get out of your car, you're physically challenged or what have you, then theoretically a poll worker can come out there, bring a ballot, you can vote right there, and they'll come in and cast it. That's all it is. See, the key is this. You got to be who you say you are. There are laws that says if you are not who you say you are, then you can go to jail. There's a law against it. Okay, so move on. You know, if the governor feels he's going to stop rapists, then guess what? He can stop fraud in voting. How about that? And you don't have to pass any laws. I mean, this wasn't necessary to stop it. All you had to do was arrest them. They arrested 2 in Texas, by the way. The vote by mail ID mandates, which is really absurd. It really is quite absurd. Those who are over 65 out of the county on election day or have a disability or illness that prevents them from voting in person will now need to provide either the driver's license number of the last 4 digits. Now, here's my question on this.
What?
Well, how do you know? In other words, they're going to mail it in, right?
Traditionally.
And typically what you do is you send it to that address. If you don't get it at that address, then you do understand, then theoretically, it's not you. In other words, you've got to have both you and a witness to sign off on it. Usually it's a notary. But now they want you to put your Social Security numbers on it, at least twice. Once on their absentee ballots, applications, and then on the other. And why? I'll tell you why. It's because they want to say, make sure it's you. Okay, well, you were doing that anyway. You got to make sure it's you. Those numbers will then be matched against voters' records to confirm that they are who they say they are. It's just a lot for nothing. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to encourage every voter to do it, but it's just, what is the reasoning behind it?
To make it harder to vote.
It bans, officials from mailing unsolicited mail-in ballots applications. Why not? Send in the application. You can send it back. Let me tell you what it's like. It's like getting now listen to me closely, it's like getting a jury summons. You don't ask for a jury summons. They look down the list and see that you're a registered voter, and they send you a jury summons. I mean, are we going to now stop just overall sending jury summons, soliciting? It's just stupid. There's no reason for this whatsoever. New requirements of assisting voters, and this is the one that's really, really bad because now poll workers, these are poll watchers, not workers. These are individuals that represent other elected officials or parties. They now can look over the shoulder of the poll workers. Poll watchers now just have unlimited power. They can, in other words, typically poll watchers can go in and look at the roll book. They're not supposed to say anything. They can ask questions specifically of the poll workers, but they cannot say anything to those who are voters. This gives the impression that poll watchers will have a lot more access. I have a problem with this because it can be intimidating. And I'm going to tell you, that has happened in the past, especially here in this state. All right, let's go to is it Bud Daniels? Good morning, Bud Daniels.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Oh Lord, let me get it together. Start now. God bless y'all here. The first thing I want to talk about real quick, I'm going to do this in about 2 minutes. As far as the baby's concerned, being in the law enforcement about 5-10 years of my life, that was handled incorrectly.
You're talking about LaMello.
I've talked to a lot of my.
You're talking about LaMello.
A lot of my fellow friends. Yeah, Camello. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to a lot of my officers in the Pascagoula and Moss Point area, and it was so many ways they could have did that. One, where was the SWAT group? We have a SWAT group for the state of Mississippi for situations of in the state, and we have a SWAT group for the cities, especially in Biloxi. I know they have a SWAT group. Gulfport, they got a SWAT group. So, and it really shouldn't even have got this far anyway. This should have been handled right after the state line. There was many places when I rode to Louisiana, I've looked at spots after this happened to see where they could have handled this in a manner that, okay, the car would have been bumped up a little bit. When they shot out them tires, and he rolled on these tires now. Remember now, he rolled on these tires for what? How many acres?
Well, he rode all the way from Hancock County. Looks like the strips were used in Pascagoula, we know for sure.
Okay. And in them areas, there are spots where they could have bumped the car, what they end up doing anyway, and handled it to the right side instead of handing him to the left side into the ongoing, the traffic in the middle area. Then in this situation, they say they were worried about him shooting at ongoing traffic on the other side. Well, he could have did that at any time when there was space. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know who was in charge at that time. They need to look that over and reassess that. But let me get into this other thing. Afghanistan, I'm an Army soldier, a veteran also. I appreciate we're going out there to help them people and bringing them in. But what about the people right here? What about the African Americans and the people here that have been fighting for those type of rights and respect? It's like let's find somebody else to help so we can get away from the brothers and sisters that are right here. So, it just seems to be a problem. Yeah. Another thing about the abortion. Now, they call themselves pro-lifer. I'm about that. Hey, I understand. I'm a pro-lifer. But I'm like King Solomon. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your body. I can encourage you and offer you ways to help you. But I can't tell you, especially if you've been raped, especially if you've been in an abused situation and you have a baby by the devil himself. I can't tell you, all I can encourage you. I promise you, if some of them women had them babies and dropped them babies off of them pro-lifers' house, they will not accept them. Well, let me send you on over to a problem, because I've seen it happen. I know. I used to work in New York for the foster care adoption program they had in New York City for the state of New York. And I watched how a lot of those same people who were fighting for those things, when those ladies needed help, they would turn to the side. Now, that was back in the 90s. It might have changed a little bit now. But I'm telling you, it's all a front to me. I feel it's a front. They totally pro-life, but yet they're about letting cops kill people that had nothing to do with a crime. All right. You know what I'm saying? They're about being conservative, but at the same time, January 6th happened. Where was Christ in their heart then? I feel that we're running into a kind of a country that's hypocritical. We've always been like that sometimes. And you can see some people are tired of it. Now, like that man said, well, there's more of them than us. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of minorities in the United States, okay? And if they ever got together and be unified like our Latino brothers and our Asian folk and everything else, and in the African-American community get unified, they're going to be hell to pay in the United States.
All right, brother.
Amen?
Appreciate you calling. 228-896-9455. Let's get in Miss Faye if we can. Miss Faye, good morning. Miss Faye, you there?
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing excellently, Miss Faye. Thank you for calling.
But I'm just seeing the think that this a situation that women are in today. I'm pro-life too, but I don't have the right to tell you what to do or whatever, or what not to do in your circumstances. But you can't be pro-life and not think about the 4-month-old baby that lost his. And that's all there is to it, because you're not pro-life. When you allow people to go in schools and kill children, and then you try to harm your own child because you don't want them to wear a mask, because you don't know what the outcome will be. They might be young and healthy, but that's no guarantee that they won't lose their life.
Yeah, amen to that.
And we got to think of it like that.
All right, Miss Faye. 228-896-9455. I see that Now the emergency room nurses at the University of Alabama at Birmingham Hospital briefly refused to clock in. On Sunday, there was a protest. The nurses at the hospital, in the emergency room nurses at Birmingham, did not clock in protest over pay and the conditions amid the pandemic. They're overworked, underpaid, taking too many chances. They're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And they feel defeated. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. The whole of your community rests in the hands of those folks sitting there in that hospital, and you'd be surprised how few there are. And they're working from can to can. How dare any of us take the precautions to keep from overworking them by not getting sick? That's the point. We'll be back.
Get the info. Get the info.
Stay informed. It's a new day with Rip Daniels, the #1 talk show in South Mississippi on Jay-Z 94.5.
They don't know I do it for the culture, oh man. They say I should watch the stuff I post, come on man. Say I'm turning big girls into pros, come on man. They say I get groupies at my shows, come on man. All the rumors are true, yeah. What you heard, that's true, yeah. Him and you, yeah. If you believe I do that, had to cut them all loose, yeah. Indy ain't no loose lips. Now they all tryna sue me. Psh, I don't give two lips. All the rumors are true, yeah. I've been in the bamboo, yeah. Focused on this music. My ex-man, he...
All right, folks, good morning to you. You know, I think it's wrong with the hip-hop culture. They preoccupy themselves with bull crap. No, really, this is Lizzo. Excellent performer, good flautist. I mean, why the social media? Why even be preoccupied? And then they it almost as if.
Well, they came for Lizzo, so she had to let them know. You know, she was targeted.
Jeez, I mean, if Diana Ross were to do a song about every time that they came at her,
wow.
Jeez.
Diana Ross did that song. Oh wow.
I mean, does Diana Ross write lyrics about everything that they were saying about Diana Ross or Gladys Knight? Or I mean, it's just so immature to me. This whole beef thing that goes on, and it started way back when, I guess. East West bullcrap, and it's just I guess going back to Tupac and Biggie.
Yeah, the whole faith situation kind of bridged the gap.
It's immature. It's just immature, and they still do it. They're still doing it. And the reason, and I'm going to tell you this, folks. I listen to Charlemagne, and you know, he talks about the fact that he's 40 now and so forth. Well, Charlemagne, had you listened when you were 20, right, you wouldn't have done some of the dumb things you did. I mean, it's like the maturity he has at 40, I had when I was 20. And the average young African-American male had that. You know, the idea that you can't just go buck wild out here without paying some price. And going to jail was the last place you wanted to go. Who want to go to jail? Who want to brag on it? Robert E. Lee's statue down. Columbus statue is down in Mexico. Why would they have it up in Mexico anyway? It's on the main drag in Mexico. Columbus. They took it down now because they want to put up an indigenous flag. Indigenous statue.
Why was it in Mexico City?
I guess they discovered the New World, and I guess at that point Mexico was incomprehensible.
Indians. Yes.
Of course, I guess he was the first, and then behind him came Cortez and the Plaza. Was it Plazo? Whatever his name was, the Gama and all that bunch.
Definitely not a Palazzo.
No, it wasn't.
Certainly not a Palazzo or McDaniel, for that matter.
All right, 228-896-9455. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff here, folks. It just keeps coming, and that's what we do. We've got the new numbers now, 102 dead, close to 2,000 more new cases. Can I go to Big Chief? Good morning, Big Chief.
Will.
Yes, sir.
Will. They taking them statues down. Long as when they take a statue down, make sure the policies match the statue that they put up in place of the Confederacy. How about that? Instead of just taking it down and nothing changes. How about that?
Oh, in other words, they take the statue down, then they need to take down also the behavior, is what you're saying.
Yes. Policies, man. That
the policies, yeah, the policies.
Yeah, policy. It matches everyday lives of people.
Well, I can tell you, you're absolutely right, especially here in this state, given the fact that when I went before the redistricting committee, it was more than obvious to me that although the Mississippi state flag has changed, there's no doubt that the conservatives are going to run this the way it was when the flag was up, as far as drawing the numbers such that it minimized the effect of African Americans, which really hold right at 50% of the population.
I just hope one day, Rip, you have anybody, a Democrat or an independent, it don't matter, just anybody besides Republican run this state, Rip. And just like I didn't even know, but you said I think it's 42% of African Americans in this state.
I think it's closer to 50%, actually. To be quite frank, I really do. The census is suggesting 44%, but I think we are butting up against 50% in this state now, to be quite frank. And never have been able to count African Americans. Where are you now, Big Chief? Where are you driving? I hear you driving.
Actually, I'm just coming out of Texas. This horrible state of passing laws.
Are you really? You're coming out of Texas. Did you get a feel for the population there? Where people? Do you see many signs / protest about be it the abortion bill or the voting rights bill?
No, when I'm coming through and stopping, people, they're talking about it. They're angry about it, but I mean, you're just gonna have to. That's just me coming by saying, the Democrat Party reminds me of how to say this. My grandson, he's about 100 pounds, fighting a bully that's 250 pounds on a playground, and I keep telling my grandson, don't fight fair.
Yeah.
Punch him in the eye, poke him in the eye, hit him in the nuts, or whatever, and bring him down. And that's what I feel about the Democrats. I'm in the background telling them, the Republicans are not fighting fair, and the Democrats are sitting up there trying to do fair. And my grandson is not winning.
Let me tell you what's happening with the Democrats. They don't have any solidarity. I mean, Joe Manchin just today indicated that he is not going to support the $3 trillion infrastructure bill. He'll support maybe 1/3 of that, $1 trillion, but not the $3 trillion infrastructure bill. And he is a quote-unquote Democrat. However, he came from a staunchly Trumplican state. And so what he wants is to get reelected. That's what he wants. He feels that he does this way and he abides by the Republicans' playbook, then he'll be reelected, which that has not worked well for any of the so-called blue dog Democrats. They've been voted out. They will get him out. I can tell you that. So what he should do is go ahead, fall on his sword for the sake of making sure that the policies of the Democrats get in there, and including the filibuster rule, because the one who's holding that up is Joe Manchin.
What does he want, Bill?
What he wants is to be reelected in a staunchly Trumplican conservative district, a state. He's a senator. That's what he wants. He wants to be reelected.
Well, why should he get reelected? What has he done besides block it?
Well, what he's doing now is he's abiding by the Republican playbook, under the guise of he feels that he's going to be moderate and that everything should be bipartisan. When he knows with the conservatives, nothing is bipartisan. They all go by the Republican playbook.
I'm going to just go ahead and flip parties. Just go ahead and say you're Republican. So being in the Democratic Party.
Well, that's exactly right. Probably, I would not doubt that when he's up for election again, he will flip. I would not doubt that. That'll be probably the only way that he keeps his job. I would not doubt that. Wouldn't be the first time. Appreciate you calling, Big Chief.
All right, thank you.
And some of you guys get on and you want to criticize the demos. The reality is that it's not all Democrats. That's the problem. However, I think there's something to be said for people who certainly want to represent their constituents. I don't doubt that Joe Manchin probably feels that his constituents want him to vote contrary to Joe Biden, because his constituents voted 30% for the impeached Donald John. So he is following what his constituents want him to do. However, that won't be enough to solidify saving his job if he has a D in front of his name. I guarantee you. We'll be back.
Get the info. Get the info.
Stay informed. It's a new day with Rip Daniels, the #1 talk show in South Mississippi on JZ 94.5.
I've been around and I've seen some things. People moving faster than the speed of sound, faster than a speeding bullet. People living like Superman all day and all night. And I won't say if it's wrong or I won't say if it's right. I'm pretty fast myself. But I do have some advice to pass along right here in the words of this song. You better not look down if you want to keep on flying. Put the hammer down, keep it full speed ahead. You better not look back, or you might just wind up dying. You can keep it moving if you don't look down.
All right, folks, good morning to you. Rip Daniels here in the NOLA's best, B.B. King there. Appreciate you being with us. Show is called It's a New Day. One rule, no such thing as a right or wrong opinion. Good morning, Cincinnati, Ohio. Appreciate it. So, it's Chalky's dead. Omar's dead.
Yeah.
Michael Kenneth Williams. So, bro, what was a drug overdose?
Fentanyl was mentioned. I'm waiting for actual official autopsy results. A lot of times, especially with celebrity deaths, especially unexpected, sudden deaths, especially with black celebrities, the drugs are forefront, and I'm waiting to see what the autopsy says killed Michael K. Williams. But drugs have been mentioned, possible overdose. He was found dead in his New York apartment.
Yeah. You guys probably know him by the scar on his face, and he got that scar as a result of being in a razor fight. As he put it, a guy spit a razor. It used to be they'd carry razors and the tip of their tongue. When you're going to get in a fight with of course, it wouldn't be a double-edged razor, of course, but horrible situation here, but it's a very tragic end to an incredible young guy. But, I found a lot of demons. Now, this isn't anything new. You find artists will have these, but he came up at a time when it was pretty tough. He was 50 years old?
54.
He was 54 years old. I mean, he came up through the hip-hop era.
Yeah, he did. He, as we said yesterday, contributed a lot of choreography to not just the likes of Crystal Waters, but also Madonna. Very storied history, though. Dealing with his past, his relationship with his father, his relationship with his mother, especially,
and drugs as well,
and also drugs. Yeah.
But he played some very shady characters, and I don't mind telling you, I think he's an excellent actor, but the characters he played, and I mean, he had to work, obviously, but it was just, it was almost obvious to me that he didn't mind perpetuating that a stereotype of African-American males that isn't prevalent.
Well, he dealt with that, himself. And I just want to
he wasn't gay. He didn't admit that he was gay.
Well, he didn't admit that he was gay, but he did take a lot of gay roles and identify with a lot of gay groups. But that stereotype about, him having those roles, those gangster roles, he actually did a piece, just a real quick piece for HBO about that typecast. And this is him acting with himself.
You think I'm being typecast? I don't know. You think this cat is typecast? It's a fucking cat, Ain't got much choice. What if he moved to a new neighborhood? You know, hung out with the poodle crowd, did poodle things, you know, become a poodle. Still be a cat, you know? But what if he convinced himself that he was a poodle and everyone else that he was a poodle? Wouldn't that make him a poodle? That's a good point. I mean, weird as shit, but that's a good point. And this whole metaphor is bullshit, yo. You hear me? You think everybody don't got a role to play, huh? You think a white boy could have played Omar? You think you could play a president? I could. And I think we've seen the last black president for a while.
He goes on with a couple of more parts with all he's playing. So it's him as 4 different aspects or 4 different characters in the same room talking to each other. But
so he's talking to himself.
He's talking to himself about that, what we were just talking about, this idea of perpetuating this stereotype and why that is so prevalent. And if it's not perpetuated, is it honesty?
What gets me about it is, I'm not going to doubt that there's no doubt that there's freaky homosexuality happening among African-American males, but every show doesn't have to have it, and that's the problem I have. And I first really saw the grittiness of Wire. It really just stopped me from watching it because it was like, come on, really? Even here?
Well, yeah. But I will say, to the Wire's credit, it was an equal opportunity offender. And it was one of the first shows, if not the first show or movie, that I saw play the main gay character against type. Omar was the biggest gangster on The Wire, besides the Muslim brother.
Yeah, so you got a gay gangster, you know what I mean? But what I'm saying to you is that, how often do you see that? Of all the things among the gangsters, come on. You know, I guess I'm not just going to call out The Wire, but I'm calling out just about every other show then had to have some gay guy who happens to look like me, and that's a rarity. You don't see folks like that. So out of all the thug individuals, now you got to have one who happens to be Omar, Mr. Look like a fighter, tough guy, and so therefore he's, And look, I'm just saying it just seems like a perpetuation in my view. Well, if you don't think so, tell you what you do. You give me the gay Italian bad guy. Show me him. And then tell me that I'm wrong. That, oh, yeah, it happens with all nationalities, all races. Bull, you know what? But you've got to perpetuate this. And so anyway, he's dead and gone. I'm sorry he is, but should have picked some better roles. We'll be back.
WJZD-FM, Long Beach, D'Iberville, Pascagoula, Biloxi, the all-new JZ 94.5.
Time for jazz at 11.
The family essentially is a community of everybody doing a different part, everybody being different, everybody, And in a household, you learn about authority, right? You learn about order, you learn about selflessness, you learn about organization, you learn about competition, and that's what a family gives you.
That's a real drummer. Yeah. Big difference in a beatbox and a drummer now. Like this. Who's the horn player? Who is this group? I don't have a clue. It's not Billy Cobham.
Not Billy Cobham.
Not Johnny Johnson.
Not Johnny Johnson. This is Alpha Mist out of Newham, London. Johnny Woodham on the horn.
Young boys, huh?
Pretty young cats, yeah.
He's whipping those skins, bro. So what's the name of this?
This track is called Keep On.
Keep On. And what's the name of the group?
The group is, well, the artist is Alpha Mist, the main guy.
Alpha Mist.
Alpha Mist. ALFA.
You gotta send this to me, bro.
Gotcha. The album, Antiphon.
Antiphon. This is the old piece or new piece? This is a new piece.
It's from 2019.
Definitely giving the drummer some.
2017, excuse me.
All right, folks, little jazz mataz there. Young boys. What, 20s, 30s?
Early 30s, yeah.
Yeah, that's that old, that you know, folks, that what you just heard was what I would normally hear somewhere in Washington, D.C. or St. Petersburg on Central Avenue or somewhere down on Frenchman's in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
You can probably still hear some of that Frenchman's in New Orleans.
No doubt.
I mean, it's just that kind of groove. It's just a really good groove.
Yeah.
And if by chance you know how to play music, continue to play. Believe me, it's worth it. It soothes the savage beast, and besides that, it also says, you realize music is a mathematical language. That means you got to be good at math. 228-896-9455. Hang on, call Ronnie and the rest of you guys. I want to go down to, if I can, there's a press conference going on now regarding LaMello at the Gulfport, in front of the Gulfport PD.
Mr. James Crowell just spoke. The next speaker's coming up here. Leah Campbell at the podium now with Mississippi Rising Coalition.
All right, next up we have Reginald Virgil, president of Black Lives Matter Mississippi.
Good morning, everyone. I agree that this indeed was senseless, violent act of police brutality amongst LaMello Parker. This was not an act of pro-life, none whatsoever. The total opposite, if you ask me. But we can go in on that all day long and talk about that. We also must mention, as Ms. Campbell said, 4 months has passed. People are wondering. People want to know. People have questions. Not only people, but this family as well have questions as to why this unfolded. Information is being withheld from us. Officers are not being held accountable, nor are they showing the responsibility that they need to show with that accountability. There has been a lack of transparency, a total lack of transparency, which keeps us in the dark. 4 months in the dark, and yet we still have nothing. But to be honest with you, I want to put something in perspective for everyone who is watching today and for people who will hear this. During the first 2 stages of life, newborns react automatically to external stimuli.
I want to go to.
Newborns can move
I want to
their
go to see if I can get Nicole here, who is representing the station. Nicole, can you get to a location where we could chat? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me go to a location where we could hit. I know that I understand he is the speaking on behalf of Black Lives Matter, Mississippi.
Original Virgin.
So, describe the environment where they are. They're in front of Gulfport Police Department.
Well, most of the people here are obviously affiliated, standing behind the podium. Looks like mostly news agencies and different people filming that are standing in front of the podium, and a couple people with cell phones.
So you have
a representative.
There's a representative of the family there as well.
Yes, they had an uncle who was here. He was kind of muffled, but he was just thanking everyone for the support and saying that he was trying to help the family get past it and deal with the losing his sister and the nephew. But he didn't speak that long, and then they had the president of the NAACP, and he was expressing that he was disappointed that it wasn't a larger crowd. I see more people pulling up though, but he was saying that if it had been one of our kids, that he would hope that there would have been more people, a larger turnout.
Yeah, well, this was actually, I think that the press release was kind of released 2 days ago, I believe. So let me ask you this: any law enforcement there?
No, I do not see one law enforcement officer out here.
And what about elected officials? Any elected officials?
Nope, not that I can tell. It's only the people that are affiliated. Other than that, it's just news people. I see different people peeking their heads out of the courtroom, right. And I see, maybe, looks like maybe attorneys walking in and out, but no one officially standing out and listening.
Had you had opportunity, and if you haven't, I'd like for you to check with the organizers of this. I'm curious as to why would they be in front of the Gulfport Police Department as opposed to the Biloxi Police Department where it's being investigated. Have you had an opportunity to ask any of them that? I
haven't yet. When I came up, they were doing prayer, and then they, rushed to get organized and set up. But I will make sure to inquire about that.
All right, I'm gonna put you on hold here, and so we'll get filled in. All right, hang on. That's Nicole. She is right now at the Black Lives Matter press conference they're having in front of the Gulfport Police Department on behalf of questions regarding the investigation of LaMello Parker's death. Ro, you had an opportunity to talk to some of the organizers here. Did they give any kind of clue as to why Gulfport as opposed to Harrison County? Because you've got implications of the Gulfport officer, a deputy, and several state troopers who were either suspended or, as we have found, as a result of firing into that car that day.
Yeah, no real confirmation on why the Gulfport Police Department was centralized as the site for this press conference today, other than the notion, and it's just a notion, there's nothing to confirm this officially, that it was an officer or officers with the Gulfport Police Department that fired the fatal shot. But again, nothing to confirm that, nothing officially, of course. We shared with you everything that we've gotten officially here. But that's the only thing that I heard coming from the representatives from Black Lives Matter, Mississippi.
All right, we're going to continue to monitor this, and we're going to go back to the calls here. Carl, good morning. Thank you for holding. I know you wanted to weigh in on rap and some other things, the common sense of, or the lack thereof, of some folks. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to start with the guy that was speaking just now with Black Lives Matter.
without the common sense accountability that you just started with. This world is becoming nothing like the old cliche, life is a bitch. And like the commercial that you did with the young lady a few minutes ago, talking about her sister and her mother telling her to don't smoke marijuana, and I know she being out there with her friend, ain't no way in the world she could have used spice in the process. And getting back to the politician that does all this voting, and I forget the guy's name from Virginia that's not really riding with Democrats to make everything kosher. You're going to have everybody come together and work in unison and speak out on all these different situations. I give an example, for instance, like you talk about construction all the time, and I like the fact that you said you work out doing that, because a friend of mine said this certain guy in the construction business killed his friend, but drinking and drugs did most of that. And also, I was watching television when the president spoke yesterday in New Orleans and out on the East Coast. And you being a construction guy, and I noticed a lot of these houses next door to each other, and they was cleaning out the basement and people crying on how they go get everything fixed. Now, if they take your concept and not be as slow along with Habitat, if they furnish all the nail guns and get a couple of guys that's in the construction business like you and have a couple of major apprentices, with all the volunteer services like I seen them doing, taking stuff out of there, man, they can sheet rock and roof and do a whole row of houses like China in the military.
All right, brother. Appreciate it. If only, but coming together is something that most Americans just have not been able to do all together. Can I go to Galloway? Galloway, good morning. Thank you for being patient. I know you're out there in Texas and you want to weigh in on that situation.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mr. James. How y'all doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, Abbott, I refuse to call him governor. Abbott, he's not done yet. He's about to call in a special session, which is against the Constitution of the state of Texas, to change the district line. And two Democratic governors have already filed suit. But, you know, when you have the Supreme Court in your back pocket, the Texas Supreme Court in your back pocket, they're going to dismiss that lawsuit. What's going on here? We got 5 months until the primaries. February 14th is when we start voting. So by February 14th, there's a possibility a lot of us can be voting in different districts and different wards because they'll be able to draw the lines the way they want to.
Right.
So this is all about, like I said before, this is a power grab, and there's really nothing you can do about it besides get off your behind and vote. And that's what I keep relaying to everybody. I say everybody's mad about all this stuff being passed, but where were y'all this past election when only 375 people voted for your alderman? I think one.
There are some other things you can do, Galloway, and it's something that Megger understood, something that Stokely Carmichael understood, Fannie Lou Hamer understood. You vote also with your pocket. The people who are putting money behind each and every one of those legislators who will draw the lines up and gerrymander, they are supported by folks. You need to find out where their contributions are coming from. And this is local. This is in the state itself. And that list of individuals need to be put out front and center now, not wait until they draw the lines. Those businesses, those corporations that are making these hefty donations to those legislators in rural areas or other areas have to right now start experiencing the lack of money going into those businesses. I mean, not unlike what you had with Rouse here in this state and in Louisiana. And trust me on this, although it might seem that all is well, there are still those to this day that are not spending their money there. And so I think
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, that we have not learned the lessons of old. I mean, when you're looking at 1960, 1968, 1964, this was a segregated town in the state of Mississippi and parts of Texas, to be quite frank, in and around Beaumont especially. And so what African Americans realize is that, okay, if we can't vote, then we are not going to shop. We don't, when Medgar Evers coined that the whole phrase that, we don't shop where we can't work. Well, once African Americans started to work there, then the whole trend became, well, okay, well, if we're not going to shop where there are individuals who are supporting people that want to keep us from voting. And so, that's why a lot of businesses actually went out. I mean, Art Olek is one of those that went out the back door. So I think that what's got to happen now is money. Money now has to change. Money changed the flag here in this state. The NCAA was not having any games here, and yes, I could tell you as a business person here, there were people who chose not to come here because of our image and because of our position, and they still are in many cases. However, I think what's going to have to happen in Texas is that the organizations there have got to now ask those of us who would go to Texas to not. And those who are there have got to now specify who they're not going to do business with.
And that is very great. And I'm glad you brought up Medgar Evers and Stokely Carmichael then. Because when I talk to people about especially Stokely Carmichael in the phrase black power, which means black voting power, the pushback is so strong, and it's the eye rolls, it's the, well, I'm not going to worry about what happened in the 60s. I say it's just going full circle. Again, it's just they using different tactics to do the same thing they did to us in the 60s. I said, you don't have to have a Klan hood on to be the Klan anymore. I said, you don't have to sit there and stand in front of a door and say, you can't come in here. It's other ways that they will do that and be doing the same thing that they're doing.
Well, it's a strategy. It's a strategy. In other words, just because it was back in the 60s doesn't mean the strategy doesn't work. The strategy works. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The strategy of saying, okay, well, we're not going to spend money with individuals who are voting not in your best interest is not unusual. And just because it was Medgar and just because it was Stokely Carmichael doesn't mean that it doesn't work today. And what does work today is, in fact, that it worked in South Carolina.
Oh yeah, and the flag came down there also. See, in the state of Texas. Now, the state NAACP is very strong, but within the smaller communities, like the Killeen NAACP, I wouldn't join it to save my life. Now, I am part of the state NAACP.
Right.
They get scared and they get timid, and then, like I told you before, they give them just a little bit so they'll be quiet. But I'm trying to tell people, I'm like, once these lines are redrawn, it's going to be 10 more years before you can challenge them again.
Right.
I said, that's a long time that we don't understand. And I said, I'm not part of the microwave generation where I got to stand outside and get something now. I know it takes time. But I'm like, if y'all have not been organizing since the last election to go get another 10,000 people to vote in the city of Killeen, what are y'all really doing? I can never get an answer for that. And that's our problem. We want to wait until something is already passed and then get mad instead of getting mad while they're trying to pass it or before they even think about going in the session.
That's right. That's exactly it. You got to be proactive, not reactive, to get ahead of this. What you should do, and I wish you would, Galloway, I don't mind helping you. You need to go online and find out who, it might be daunting, I don't know, but it should be pretty evident, those individuals who receive funding in your legislature, and maybe some of the most popular ones.
That's what I plan on doing once I get off the phone, because if it's any of these cable providers or these energy company providers or grocery, these big chain grocery store providers, I'm boycotting all this stuff. I'm like I tell people, it's gonna take hell and high water for me not to go walk in there and hand you my ID and for me not to vote, and nobody better not say a damn word to me. I'm not playing that, because these poll watchers. When I go to vote in February, I will call you, because these poll watchers already are aggressive. I'm talking from taking license plate numbers down to asking you stuff. Like I told myself.
So they allow the poll watchers to actually say something to the voters, is where I'm reading this.
Yes. They not only can they say something for the voters, they can look at the voting rolls. They can question, is this person really allowed to vote? You know, this stuff is out of control here in Texas. And the bad thing about it, Mr. Daniels, is just going to spread to another state and another state and another state. Because, like I said, the conservatives, which are a bunch of bigots, they have control of these state houses. And everybody's so worried about the federal level, they forget the local and state level. And local and state is making it more hard and difficult for us to live day-to-day lives. And that's hard. That's a hard message for people to realize until it's too late, until they are in a bind when they say, where's so-and-so, where I need help. And that's the problem we have.
All right. Appreciate you calling, Galloway. That is the way to handle this. Even in this state, ladies and gentlemen. Even in this state, it's extraordinarily effective, especially for those organizations that seek to change. You know, you vote not only with your pen, but you vote also with your dollars.
Patrick, Jeremiah, and Tracy would also agree, answering on our Facebook page question of the day, one of them, should Texas be boycotted in the wake of these new laws? Patrick says, hell yes, because it's not logical, it's ridiculous, and the law is too. Jeremiah says, yes, money matters to conservatives, not people. And Tracy says simply, yes, period.
All right, 228-896-9455. We're going to go back down to the get an update on the what's happening at the press conference here shortly. But I want to get Ronnie, who's been waiting there in Jackson. Good morning, Ronnie.
Hey, Mr. Real.
How you doing, brother?
How you doing today?
Great. Doing good.
Mr. Real, you mentioned part of it, so you know I honor your opinion because you know. I just honor your line of thinking. But when it comes to Texas and the abortion as well as the voting rights, okay, now, correct me if I'm wrong. Whoever voted for the abortion, that's a matter of public record. Am I right?
In other words, the legislators, yes, absolutely.
Right, the legislators.
Yeah, the
That's a matter of public record, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, now with the, and see, sometimes you know you always find some of your high-priced lawyers because they know how to find loopholes in any law and any amendment. Okay, and what I'm meaning by that, okay. You can publicize every person that voted for the
bill,
abortion right.
That's
the
correct.
bill.
Yeah,
you can publicize.
Oh, it's already published. It's already very
Right.
evident. I mean, there's no doubt about that. If you go on the legislators' rolls book, it's going to show who voted yay and nay.
Right. Okay. So, look like to me that they now need to get together and start putting billboard signs up with real hardcore factual evidence. And I'm going to give you an example. Say a little girl got raped, right? And she can't have an abortion. And her parents and them say, well, let's put her as our poster girl. Remember how they had the little girl that say they could, you know, she had to have the marijuana in order to live and all that, you know, and folks just flocked to her. You know, put her up on a poster board or on a bus or something and say, you ain't got to use all of them at one time, but you can use them in sections in the districts that they represent. Said, my daughter got raped and could not get medical attention because Johnny Boy voted not to let her for the bill.
I got
you. You know, stuff like that. See, instead of crying and well, the Lord gonna make it happen, you know, we gonna make, you know, it's sweet by and by. You know, do things to fight these folks and to bring them to light. Because let's face it, anywhere you got some light, you ain't got no darkness.
Yeah, you're exactly right. All right, Ronnie, said it well.
Yeah.
228-896-9455. You can't wait though, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. In other words, if you know the kind of folks who support those folks, and trust me, there is money behind these people. There's no doubt about it, and that you can find out by way of contributions. Now, sometimes you could camouflage that, depending on whether or not they're working with a PAC. The Supreme Court ruled that they don't have to reveal where they get their money from, but where the money is revealed, then, or for that matter, where you find individuals who call themselves conservative, or for that matter, Republican. I mean, this is how you do this. Now, listen to me. I'm not advocating, quote unquote, boycott per se, but what I am advocating is selective buying. I can tell you that. Because I go through it. You think that this show, that everybody, there's a whole lot of advertisers who don't advertise on this show, although it is the #1 most listened to show on the coast. We're getting 25,000 listeners per quarter hour, and that's just in this market. You would think that anybody would want to broadcast because you're going to get the listenership. Well, there are those who don't, and you don't hear them, and that's their own reasons. But then there are those who reveal their reasons because they think that advertising on this broadcast is an endorsement for this broadcast, which it isn't, because reality is that you playing to people who could very well buy your products.
And the views and opinions expressed on this broadcast might not necessarily represent those of the station.
Absolutely, but what it is there are those who choose not to, and I don't mind giving you that list, to be quite frank. Those who do advertise on this show obviously like common sense and moderate thinking, and not let politics control every waking moment of their lives. We do a lot of community things. We're local. There's no doubt. Can I go back to Nicole? I want to see where we're standing now with this press conference that is still going. Is it still going on, Nicole?
Yes.
Yeah, it is still going on.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Well, they're finishing up now. They
are finishing up. Well, if you get an opportunity to chat, get one of those guys to the microphone, I certainly would appreciate it. Just have them, and we'll come back to you after we take a quick 4-minute break, okay?
Okay.
All right. Hold on. All right, folks, we'll be back to fill you in on how the press conference went. Black Lives Matter, NAACP there at the Gulfport Police Department. We'll be back.
Get the info.
Stay informed. It's a new day with Rip Daniels, the #1 talk show in South Mississippi on JZ 94.5.
All's my life I has to fight. All's my life hard times like bad trips like Nazareth, I'm f***ed up, homie, you f***ed up, but if God got us, then we gon' be alright.
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Huh? We gon' be alright.
All right, folks, good morning to you. Rip Daniels here. Thank you for joining us. The show is called It's a New Day. One rule, no such thing as a right or wrong opinion. Ironically, every time I hear that, I think about Oprah Winfrey in the movie Color Purple. It was ironic that on this date, folks, back in 1986, Oprah Winfrey became the first African-American woman to host a nationally syndicated talk show.
And you get a car.
Yeah, sure did. Little history fact there for you. All right, 228-896-9455. I want to go back to Nicole here, who were there wrapping up the press conference at the Gulfport City Hall. Nicole, so looks like everything is breaking up. Can you hear me, Nicole?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah. So I understand that you have Mr. Jeremy there, the uncle of LaMello there close?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Jeremy, they can hear you on air. Hello?
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Jeremy. How you doing? Rip Daniels again. Glad to have you back down. So
How
let me.
you doing, Mr. Daniels?
I'm doing good,
We also
sir.
have the president. I'm sorry, it's the president of the Black Lives Matter Coalition.
Oh, okay. And who is that again?
Yeah, okay.
I didn't get the name of
It's a
the.
big truck passing by. I'm sorry. I also have the president of the local Black Lives Matter coalition. We're all standing here together. It's Jeremy Parker and JoJo.
Very good.
Virgil.
Yeah. So let me just ask the president of the Black Lives Matter coalition for Mississippi. So why did you choose to have the press conference in front of the Gulfport PD as opposed to the Biloxi PD?
This is what we've been protesting when we first started. Because when it first started, within a week of it happening, we made phone calls to the Harrison County coroner, Gulfport Police, and Harrison County Sheriff, and also Biloxi. It just, to be honest, after reading the reports and what everything is said, is based off of what they said, because of the lack of transparency, we are led to believe that Gulfport is responsible for it, Harrison County Sheriff's Office is responsible for it, and other deputies as well. So those are three that we were led to believe who are involved in this. So, of course, we want to bring the pressure here and using a step-by-step process within the community to go from tier to tier, because, even though Gulfport is involved, they're not solely responsible themselves. This is a collective effort. Even, they need to be held responsible and accountable for this. So this is where we started from, and a centralized location and an easy place to come.
Right. So, of course, sir, you know that ultimately the investigation will be turned over to the district attorney, who was at the Harrison County Courthouse. So I guess it's I should just assume that most of the protests that you guys will be doing will be in and around the Gulfport area. Any plans to go to Jackson for the state troopers under Sean Tyndall, or maybe the highway patrol out on 67? It's in a process, due to confidentiality and discretion. But we do have plans for some form of raising awareness, and more than just one location throughout the coast. Yeah. Mr. Jeremy, so I understand that several organizations, including NAACP and so many, from the Flag Coalition to
Yo Gulf Coast, Mississippi,
so many, and Black Lives Matter, of course, raised some money for you there on Saturday, I think.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How much was raised, Mr. Jeremy?
In about 2 hours, man, we did good. Did about 2,500.
Well, good. Good. And
it did pretty good, bro.
And the other three children, they're in school now. They're being cared for by Miss Shonda, your cousin.
Yeah, my cousin. She look out on while I be at work and stuff.
Right.
And she take care of them. She help me with them.
Have you acquired any kind of legal counsel, Mr. Jeremy?
No. Matter of fact, I'm going to go talk to some people in a few minutes when we leave this spot.
Okay. All right, Mr. Jeremy. And who else did we have there, Nicole?
JoJo Virgil with Black Lives Matter.
JoJo.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Mr. Daniel, for the follow up and follow through as well. I listen to you every morning, but you are a man of your virtue and what you say you're going to do. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate you guys showing some great support down there. All right, so just keep us posted. What happens next? Either of you want to weigh in on that?
What we're going to do next, first thing first, is make sure that the family, they need what they have, right? Providing the basic needs. And, that's part of being Black Lives Matter, is that, our lives matter as well as when it comes to police violence and police brutality. But also we want to look at the economic cycle in which we are hindered in when it comes to our community. So first thing first is, we've already, made steps towards that, is to make sure that their basic needs are taken care of. If they're not taken care of, then we can't move forward without them, because they are part of us and we're a part of them. And then after that, we will continue to apply pressure to make sure that those demands are as follows for police transparency and accountability, and that we get body cam footage and see what happened, and to take us out of the dark. So, yes, sir.
All right, appreciate it. All right, thank you, Nicole. Appreciate your being there representing. You did an excellent job. I look forward to chatting with you.
Okay, thank you.
228-896-9455. It's been now 131 days since LaMello was killed, and still no answers. And there's a good reason to ask why, no doubt. The question is whether those answers are going to be given anytime soon. We're going to reach out again very shortly to see whether there's been any movement. You know, throughout these United States, going back to the 13 colonies, you realize nothing would have happened without protest, which is why it became a protection within the Constitution, Bill of Rights, the right of assembly, the peaceful protest, right? But it all started there with the 13 colonies, and ultimately ended up with that tea being thrown into Boston Harbor, the resistance of the Stamp Act, the people not having the right of having troops quartered in their house, or unusual searches and seizures. All of this goes back to the Constitution. I mean, it's the rights are protections against government. And in this case, government is represented by the authorities. And each of us have that protection, not just the group Americans, but every individual American is entitled to those protections. And no matter how young, a 4-month-old or a 3-month-old, same protections. We'll be back.
Get the info. Get the info.
Stay informed. It's a new day with Rip Daniels, the #1 talk show in South Mississippi on Jay-Z 94.5.
All right, folks, good morning to you. Rip Daniels here. Thank you for joining us. Show is called It's a New Day. There's only one rule. There's no such thing as a right or wrong opinion. 5 would-be terrorists are now going on trial in Guantanamo. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, supposedly the ringleader of what happened 9/11, was about 20 years ago. Finally going on trial. It's a military-style trial. It's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. It really is. Obviously, there's been a lot of delays, for the most part, because of his counsel. Makes me wonder about his counsel, to be quite frank, whether or not he can really have adequate counsel. He's not getting a counsel, I can tell you, from Saudi Arabia. However, the thought is that what has been before the tribune is whether or not he was coerced, whether or not he was tortured.
This is what, 2 decades almost?
Yep.
Jeez.
So you got five individuals. We still don't know really what happened 9/11, even after the 9/11 Commission. There's a whole lot of empty blanks. And just yesterday, day before yesterday, Joe Biden declassified parts of that. Some of that 9/11 Commission was, in fact, classified. And it's very, very curious. The CIA knew some of these individuals. However, the CIA cannot investigate someone inside the borders of these United States. They're supposed to contact FBI counterintelligence, and some reason, somehow, that did not happen. Go figure. And then there are those who are coming forward to talk about what's happening in Afghanistan. What is happening in Afghanistan is for the Afghans. And the Taliban, last time I checked, were Afghans. They are the new government. Such is life. The bounty that was placed on and the tag that was placed on some Talibans as being terrorists were only in as much as we were there, occupying their country. And so therefore, those individuals who are now in some cases cabinet ministers were seeking to fight us, the oppressors. Now, I don't like it, but we shouldn't have been there. No Taliban have gone outside their borders and bombed, kidnapped, or killed any Americans. That's the truth. Now, while they were terrorists, was primarily to indoctrinate we, the good God-fearing Americans, who had to come up with some reason as to why we were still there. Go figure. Especially after 2010, when Osama bin Laden was captured and killed. Can I go to Cabman? Cabman, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Dane. Thanks for taking my call. Good morning, your staff. Mr. Dane, I think what's going to happen, we're going to end up back in Afghanistan. Because you got ISIS, you got the Taliban, you got all these terrorist groups working over there. And they're taking over. And all the Americans and the Afghan people that helped us are still over there.
Don't believe Lindsey Graham.
We don't have much of a choice. I think we've made a mistake by pulling out. We didn't have a good enough plan, and I think that's what's going to put us back over there in order to protect those.
We have less than
100.
We have less than 100 Americans, and some of those who are there have green cards. I mean, we have less than that there, and I hear you loud and clear. And of course, there's some suggestions that we got some at the airport, but so what? I mean, in other words, what is the great threat? There's no threat. In other words, now, if in fact the Taliban don't release those individuals or allow them to come home, then that's another story. But there are other ways to deal with it.
With ISIS too, Mr. Dane, because they're going to expand this from the borders of Afghanistan and other areas over there that's going to cause the United States to be vulnerable to their allies and their friends. So it's going to force them back over there, I think.
Okay.
I think we should have had a more strategic plan before we got them over there.
The plan was to leave. Here's the plan, and I get it. The plan was either to stay there and fight the Taliban or leave. That was it. Donald John put the plan together. We're withdrawing, right? We're going to withdraw. When you're going to withdraw, then you come up with the rules of withdrawing, and that was supposed to have been May 31st. We didn't. We extended it. So here we are, Cap, man. Either you stay there and fight. Well, I think our people are going. I think the people who are there, and I've got to move on. I think the people who are there are going to eventually get out. I do. I think that's what's going to happen. I think you're dealing with a different kind of Taliban. They're 20 years into this. The way I saw those folks wearing the uniforms told me that they knew that these were actually the former Afghans we had trained, many of them. They didn't have any beheadings of all those who served in the Afghan military under the United States. Have you seen these mass graves? No. The 300,000 Joe Biden and others were talking about were supposed to defend the Kabul from the Taliban. Guess what? They became the Taliban. They probably were always the Taliban. Doc, good morning.
Good morning. I was down here looking around at this Black Lives Matter deal. You know, I'm the big man in this town. I was trying to see how many I could uniform. You know, I got a lot of those uniforms. Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you're not chicken and scared to wear it, I can get you one. You enroll anytime you get ready.
So a uniform. There's a uniform for Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, that shirt.
Oh, a shirt.
That black shirt.
Oh, a shirt. A shirt for Black Lives. Well, obviously.
I thought you meant some coveralls or something.
You know, give it to you.
Well, then maybe I'll let them know that. I had no idea that there was a specific.
Yeah, they know where I be at. I can put the uniform on, but you got to be a true soldier to the game to wear that shirt. Yeah. I don't want no punk wearing that shirt.
I would agree with that. Appreciate you calling, brother.
All right. Yeah, okay.
All right. By the way, to the person that said that Fredo was a homosexual Italian, I don't think so.
Well, in Dog Day Afternoon, but that doesn't count.
I don't think he was a punk.
That doesn't count.
In other words, I didn't see that. You got to come up with something better than that. But if you don't know where you're going, any boat will take you there.
WJZD FM Long Beach, Bay St. Louis, Wiggins, Moss Point, the all-new JZ 94.5.